I'm happy my grandmother got COVID. Basically the title. My grandmother is a bitch and abandoned my family after making us move thousands of miles away to live with her and my grandpa to help take care of them. Because of this, my grandfather, who had a stroke years before and couldn't really function alone, got worse and sick and died earlier than he should have. This happened when I was a kid and I've never forgiven her or gotten over it. Today, I found out she has COVID. She got tested before getting her 4th knee replacement and Mom was gonna go up to help her recover. Grandma is in her 80s and probably won't make it through COVID, and I'm happy. I still hate her for what she did and I've been basically waiting for her to die. And now she probably will. And I am so relieved. I quit my job with only $11 in my bank account. My whole life I've been a nice girl. I always cover shifts, come in on my day off, and take on tasks that aren't my responsibility. I took a promotion after attempting to leave the company. I was promised a higher compensation and the opportunity to go home to see my family for the holidays. My time off for the holidays was denied and I was accosted for being 4 minutes late to my shift. I quit. I finally stood up for myself after 8 years of being walked all over. I'm finally free. Update. Thank you guys for all of the love and advice. I told my boss I was going home early because of a bad migraine. In reality, I accidentally shit my pants and desperately wanted to get home and shower. I've been cursed with bubble gut for a few weeks now. While I was at work, I gambled on a fart and lost big time. I ran to the bathroom, hoping it wasn't that bad. It was that bad. Brown town in every nook and cranny of my pants. So I texted my boss that I was heading home early because of a migraine. I couldn't reveal to him what had really happened. I laughed about my girlfriend's dead dad. She was texting me about how her family was fighting over her dead dad's ashes. The ashes ended up going to his mother, her grandmother, and they probably weren't ever going to see the ashes again. I made comments about how I planned on getting buried. She said, "Lol, a little too late for that." I replied with, "Have him come back and die again." I wasn't thinking when I said it. It's not something I find funny. She dumped me for it. This was all yesterday. I don't blame her, I just really hate myself for saying it. It's amazing how one comment could totally ruin and end a 9-month experience. I even went out of my way to apologize to her mother, which I was also close with. I hate myself for what I did. I haven't slept, I thought about it all night. My mom had an abortion and been an asshole with my dad. 5 years ago, I am 25 back then, I gave a lift to my mom. She went to a medical check done with anesthesia. After my mom woke up, she was still affected by the medication and confessed me that 2 years after I was born she get pregnant again, but, against my father's will, aborted the child. My father wanted to keep it, but couldn't convince my mother. He never really forgave but agreed to keep it as a secret. 4 years after that they divorced and my mother wanted me to never meet my father again. However, my father went to court and they obligated my mother to enable regular visits. I was 6 and despite mom talked shit about my father, I loved him and still have a very good relationship with him. He also never talked shit about my mother and kept a secret about the abortion as well. I'm jealous of my friends because they have money. I'm still a student and I'm working part-time. Due to COVID we can barely make ends meet. We weren't so well off before, but now it's a disaster. I give almost all of my salary to my mom. Even though she works in a higher position, her salary is a joke. This week we had to ask my grandma to give me the money she put aside for me to get a driving license, because we couldn't even buy the necessities anymore. I'm grateful because some people's living conditions are way worse, but I tend to be jealous of my friends. They are not even rich or anything, but they can afford everything they need and don't need to beg for money from relatives. I feel like a bad person because of this. I really love my friends, but I'm sad that I can't even go out with them without thinking about the money I spend, which is not much tbh. And I feel like they just don't get what it's like, and when I say I don't have money, they think that means I can still afford a party or two. Twice stated multiple times it's not the case. I cheated on my girlfriend 4 years ago and never told. The guilt is unbearable. I always thought I could get over the guilt, but as our relationship gets more serious, it's eating me alive. It was 3 separate instances, 2 times kissing some random, and 1 time sending lewd pics and texting. I was disgusted with myself, blocked the girls involved, and still am to this day, and have never done anything like that since. We had just started LDR dating a bit over half a year. I had just gone off to college and she was still in high school. This was my first real serious relationship, and a mixture of stupidity, cowardliness for not communicating some stuff, and total disregard for the feelings of the most important person in my life, who I had promised to protect, led me to do these things. I can still remember the justifications. If she doesn't find out, it won't hurt her. This way I can be sure I'm not missing out on anything, so there's no crisis later. God, I was so scummy and stupid. But now as our relationship gets more serious, since I'll be going off to grade school soon and it's a whole nother level of commitment to stay together through that, what it means to keep this secret is dawning on me. When I imagine standing in front of the altar, making vows in front of her, my friends and family and God, and having this as a secret, I feel sick to my stomach, like I'm ready to cry. I never told her, I thought, because I can't imagine the damage such a revelation would do. How do you even pick up the pieces when you realize the one you loved most, who you trusted and were always faithful to, not only broke your trust like this, but also lied to you about it for years? How do you trust anyone again? She sometimes has self-esteem issues, and I just know her brain would be tormenting her about it. Was I not good enough? What did those girls have that I didn't? I wish I had never done anything to put her through all that pain. I was a jackass. I don't know what I'll do. I fantasize every day about just telling her, so there truly are no secrets in the relationship, and so she can decide what to do next. But I dread the emotional fallout for her, the doubts it could bring, where, even if she decides to never speak to me again, what it will do to her trust for future partners. If me, someone who loved her so much and seemed so perfect, could keep this lie for 3 years, why should she trust anyone? I could also just say nothing, but I feel that would destroy me. Every I love you, every time I look her in the eyes and tell her how perfect she is, I'm lying to her all over again. Every time we're cuddling and the thought comes back into my head and I decide to say nothing, it's a lie. I know eventually I won't be able to hide the guilt, and the truth will come out when we're in too deep. She deserves better, but I'm not strong enough to give that to her. Of course, the last option is to simply break things up for some other reason when I go off to grade school. This is probably what'll end up happening. At least then, she won't have to deal with the knowledge that she was cheated on. I feel we just drifted apart won't torment her the same way he cheated would. It would suck, it would be a real shame, and I may never find anyone like her again, but that's the bed I made, and now it's time to sleep in it. And to anyone reading this, young or old, for the love of God, please don't cheat, especially if you're hoping to marry that person. It's not a split-moment decision, it's one that you and your partner will have to live with for the rest of your lives, one that will linger on your wedding day. One that can take the purest thing you've ever had in life and leave an irreparable mark on it. Every lie is a debt to the truth, and the truth always collects. Please, please, please learn from my mistakes. Whatever it takes not to cheat, do that. It's not worth it, not if you truly love someone. It's my 21st birthday and I feel a little empty. Birthdays always excite me, I always hype them up because they're just my favorite days of the year. I do that for friends, family, and myself. I think it's important to make sure you make people feel loved and remembered during these days, that their existence matter a lot to you and that you're thankful for them. I guess I just constantly feel like I have so much love to give for other people, and sometimes I forget how to love myself. My country has been on lockdown since March. I haven't really seen any of my friends or other relatives since then. In that span of time, my best friend of 7 years decided to end our friendship because he got into a relationship which I've made my peace with. My college best friend decided to move colleges mid-lockdown. I guess what I'm trying to say is I've been feeling a little lonely. It makes me sad that I spent 7 years focusing on that one best friend only for him to leave, but it's okay. I guess I recognize the things that I've lost and the friendships I could have nurtured, but also rejoice in the things I learned from that hurt. I'm not trying to gain pity either, I just really needed to let that out. I'm still happy and thankful for my parents and my siblings.